9 times out of 10 would not light it like this. And that is why Roger Deakins is the best and I am a plebe. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Nate Caywood and I'm a Los Angeles-based cinematographer, and I created this YouTube channel with the intention of reverse engineering the work of the best cinematographers on the planet in the hopes that I can steal their tricks, and hopefully you guys can learn something along the way too. Let's get into it. So today I want to talk about the living legend himself, Roger Deakins. Everybody knows Deakins. Everybody knows that he's probably the best, if not one of the top 3 in the conversation in the history of all time, or at least working contemporarily. And people do video breakdowns of his work all the time, and I've watched many of them, and they are fantastic. The thing that I want to talk about that I thought is a little bit different today is everybody talks about how he does cove lighting, which is beautiful. If you don't know what cove lighting is, I strongly recommend you take a look. Today, I want to talk about the technique that he uses all the time that I feel like I haven't seen anybody talk about in a YouTube video yet, which is his use of silhouette. Okay, so this is going to be pretty quick in the idea of understanding how to create silhouette as a technique and the actual technical things that you need to be able to know to do it. But first, I just wanted to talk about how I got here. I've been wanting to do a video about silhouette for quite a while, and when I put it into Shot Deck, I noticed that in a number of the first images that were the most popular on Shot Deck, I saw like 3, 4, 5 Roger Deakins images, and I was like, oh wait, when I think about his work, the images that pop into my mind are these 3 images right now. I'm going to go to them right now. This image is one that I think of when I think of Roger Deakins. This image is an image that I think about when I think of Roger Deakins. This image is the image that I think about when I think of Roger Deakins. Okay, so I just want to talk about, really quickly, just to get it out of the way, how do you create silhouette? Well, it's actually incredibly easy. Okay, so this is an image from the film 1984, which, to my understanding, I'm sure he definitely shot a bunch of movies before this, but this is one of the first narrative films that I am aware of that Roger Deakins got praised for as a narrative cinematographer. And so this was like his first step into the big leagues. Feel free to correct me. This is just my perception. I don't know this to be fact. This is how I perceive Roger Deakins' career. This image, I think, is a really great way of talking about how you actually silhouette somebody, because it's just the easiest way to do it, which is you have an incredibly bright outside image. You have a character who is inside right now, and all you do is expose for the outside. If you're like, how do I create silhouette? You have a character inside, and that person is in front of a window, they're in front of an open door, and you can see the bright sun outside. Just set your camera's exposure to expose outside, and your character inside will more than likely be silhouetted. If they're not completely silhouetted, then you need to darken the room that they're in. One of the reasons why it works for him to be silhouetted is this, whatever room that this gentleman is in is incredibly dark. Look right here. This is all really dark fabric or some sort of material. Keep it dark in the room, expose for the outside, boom, you're silhouetted. Now I know you're like, oh, that's way simplistic, but it is. So I'm going to Cine Designer right now. I created a silhouette example that I feel like is pretty representative. I created a building, as you can see right here. I created a building that allows me to replicate the image that I'm showing you right here. And this is sort of what we're talking about here, right? Is this exactly correct? No, I couldn't get an open door in CineTracer for some reason. This is a really great software that I'm wanting to become more fluent in understanding of. I'm trying to build more worlds in CineTracer so I can be a better cinematographer. And it's a really great app. If you don't know about it, I would strongly recommend checking it out. This is CineTracer 2. Okay, so as you can see, I have a camera which is a 25mm lens on. As I kind of dolly in here, you can see that I'm exposing for outside, right? So the way that I have it set up right now is that this is at a, come on, let's put it at a 5.6, which is a aperture that we normally know of. Okay, so the iris for this lens is set to a 5.6. My camera ISO is 400, and currently I have a single stop of ND in, right? So let's say, for example, let's pull the ND. Right, you can see how that gets, and then it gets brighter. So then let's actually pull this open. Let's say you shoot this at a 2.5. Do you see how the window back there is starting to get like really blown out? The sky is starting to blow out. Like, that's not a particularly attractive image. It's not really great. So that's why you exposing for the background helps you out a lot to do this. Like, you try to expose to the background. We put in a single stop of ND to really bring it down. So now you can see the clouds out there, right? You can see the clouds and the texture of the sky. And by doing that, it's brought the level of the interior room down so much that your character is silhouetted. Now, obviously, in my Cine Tracer, it's not quite fully silhouetted because there's a little ambient level, because I tried to build a building like this, but it wasn't perfect. So, but this is more like the vibes. Okay, so I just wanted to like start to implement Cine Tracer into my breakdown so we can be a little bit more understanding of like how the actual light works. Exposed for the outside. Now I know what you're saying. Well, but Nate, what if there isn't an outsider? What if it's dark out? Or what if any of those number of things? Let's just go through all of these images and we'll talk about how he's exposing them, and we're talking about why he chooses to do this so frequently. That's what I'm really interested in. The technique of silhouetting a character is incredibly simple. You just put a really, really bright light behind them and then expose for that bright light. And then your person is silhouetted. Make sure that they have no other ambient light bouncing around them. If you have to, cut the light off of them to bring down the level on their body. That is what will silhouette them. But why do we use silhouette? Okay, so for this film, which is, I think, one of his most iconic images, this is right before he commits an incredible robbery of a train. The thing that Jesse James and his crew is famous for, and they do it incredibly well. I read the American Cinematographer magazine from this year that this was actually released, and I heard how Deakins did it. And there is an actual train going towards this person is Brad Pitt, and there is an actual train beyond him, way down this way, moving towards him that way on this track. And on the train, there is a 5K par, which is like a big light that is sort of like broad in its direction, okay? You have this incredibly bright light shooting this direction, shooting towards him, and then the other key is that they pumped a bunch of fog in here so that you can see and feel the light, because the light goes through the like fog molecules. So I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but I know that when you have fog or precipitation or anything like that, you always want to backlight it. You got rain, you want to backlight it. You got snow, you want to backlight it. You got Atmos, you want to backlight it. So here's what Deakins does and why he's great. This is another incredible silhouette shot. I think this shot is about isolation, and I think that he uses silhouette a lot to show isolation, and I think we're going to see more of that. This one's a really interesting one. I read the American Cinematographer magazine about this very shot in the article, and the way that it worked is they were in a studio that had gray cyc walls around it. He said he used 250 space lights running along the top, which would be like the space lights would just run like this, basically all the way across the top and probably quite deep into the space. 250 of them, space lights. And then he also said that they took a bunch of dinos, which are tungsten fixtures that have a bunch of globes in them. You know, that you can get them with different size globes or number of globes. You can get 9, you can get 12. I think you can get 36. I don't know. I've never actually shot with a Maxi Brute or a Dino before because they're just not that common, because you need a lot of power. Like, these are, like, for this, at least that I know of, and please, again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments for anybody who's worked with Maxi Brutes or Dinos before. Those type of lights, each one of these globes right here is a 1K par bulb. So this is a 9K fixture. So you absolutely have to be running your own power. And I'm just not working on sets that are big enough to be running a 9K tungsten light, let alone like 10 of them. He gelled the dinos to be green. Then he used a pink and amber filter on the lens to change the color of this, to make it feel more yellow, to make it feel more orange. It's yellower up here and it's oranger down here by virtue of how the light is moving through the space. At least that's how I understood it. Read the American Cinematographer magazine when this came out. I think it was like November of 2015. I just read it. It's incredible. And I'm still trying to figure out how he did it. So if you guys know anything about gelling your fixtures to be green and then cutting the green out of it by using an amber filter or a Moroccan pink, like, let me know. I think it's super cool, and I want to learn more about it. But that's how he made this shot. 1917, he won an Academy Award for this. He did win an Academy Award for Blade Runner as well, so this is incredible. This shot is when our lead character comes up to a burning church. The The way that he did this, as far as I remember from when they were doing press about this movie when it came out just before COVID, is that they just built a huge array of hundreds, if not thousands, of tungsten bulbs like this, and they just dimmed it up and they dimmed it down, and then they had VFX comp the fire and the building on top of it. But you get the feeling of fire in all of this reflections and everything down here. But again, I just want to highlight, it's like the technique and the way that he's doing is like he has access to all these really incredible big lights and he can build these huge arrays and it's really beautiful. Like, I think the really important thing to recognize is that if you have the ability to place an incredibly bright or hot light beyond your character, put your protagonist or whomever you're filling in between your lens and that bright light and expose for that bright light, they will be incredibly dark. Once again, this is about a character who is fulfilling a mission. He is currently on his own. He's navigating through foreign territory. This is, once again, I think about isolation. I think it's about feeling like all hope is lost a little bit. So I'm trying to get a little bit in the mindset of Deakins when he decides to use silhouette, because achieving it, again, is relatively simple. But I think the thing that he does so incredibly well is he has such great taste as to when to use the technique of silhouette. That's the thing that I'm most impressed about. I'm doing this video. I'm asking myself these questions because I want to know, when should I be using silhouette? When should I feel are good times to be using silhouette? And I think all is lost moments might be a good time to use silhouette. I think hopelessness might be good times to use silhouette. I think mystery. This is sort of about mystery for this character. Okay, so let's keep going and see if we can find other categories. I'm going to blast through these really quickly because I don't want this to be too long. Okay, this is from Jarhead, if I remember correctly. Silhouetted against the night sky. Soldiers moving in secrecy. So mystery again. I think that counts as a good one. Okay, this is No Country for Old Men. Josh Brolin running away from some drug dealers. Bright lights. Character right here. Lens down here. So again, we're seeing how this works. Even the sky is brighter than our character. This is about all is lost. Okay, great. I think we're seeing some things. I think it's mystery. I think it's hopelessness. I think it's moments of all is lost. So this is the goldfinch. I think this is a really incredible one because maybe this feels like hope. Is this hope? Is this connection? Is this beauty? They're silhouetted against a beautiful sun-setting sky. This one's an interesting one because it's about sort of proximity and placing them in time and space. Yeah, I don't know. Full disclosure, I haven't seen The Goldfinch. I just know that this is from The Goldfinch. I know that it's a beautiful film. Deakins doesn't shoot anything that's not beautiful. Okay, this is from Prisoners. This is another one. This is about all is lost, hopelessness, isolation. That's all of these things. Look at him silhouetted. Man, this is a great thing to steal too, guys, because we might not have access to huge studios where you can build 250 space lights above you and we can put 8 Dinos in the background so you can blast in green light and you can have homemade color filters from Lee to be able to get you the exact colors that you need, like Deakins can. But you know what this is? This is a big-ass work light, you know? You might not actually be able to afford to get one of these work lights. I might not be able to afford it either, but I think the answer is it doesn't have to be that. This could be a halogen light that you get from Home Depot for $25. It doesn't matter. The idea is that this is super bright. Look at this. What is this? Atmosphere? Guys, okay, that's another thing that we're learning. You want depth and texture while you're backlighting somebody? Put atmosphere, because it actually makes it glow around him. So it makes it feel, I would venture to guess, if there wasn't Atmos here, he would feel less silhouetted because he'd be against dark stuff, right? So you probably want the atmosphere to make it feel even more silhouetted. So that's a good technique to learn too. That's one I'm putting in my quiver to remember. This is another really common lighting style that Deakins has, this sort of like sickly yellow. I feel like that happens a lot in Blade Runner. I feel like that happens in this. Man silhouetted. Mystery. I bet it's about mystery. I have a feeling the silhouette is mystery. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, this is Unbroken, which is a period drama about a World War II track and field runner who is captured as a prisoner of war by the Japanese. Once again, this is one of the easy versions of this technique, which is like bright direct sunlight is hitting all of these guys. Like here, like you can see, look at the edge of his shoulder, look at the top of his head. It's like this is all direct sunlight. It's like noon, 1 p.m. It's so bright. So all you have to do is expose for this sky so that it's not blown out, so that it's dark and probably where it's at, I don't know, 60 IRE maybe or whatever. This character is going to be dark. Great. What is this showing? Separation, isolation, all is lost. I mean, he's a prisoner of war. So whatever it is, it's not great. This actually kind of feels like hopefulness and revelation because he is in a darkness and he is going to the light. So it's almost the inverse of the way that we've been using silhouette before. Again, this is all hypothetical, and I'm really trying to lean into how narrative helps you establish these techniques. So, like, tell me if you disagree about some of the premises on here. So far, mystery, all is lost, hopelessness, isolation. This feels like hope, though. The antithesis of what I was saying previously. Look at this, guys. Come on. All is lost. Incredible moment. This is hopelessness. This is Josh Brolin's character in No Country for Old Men. The thing that I love about this shot, that I'm absolutely obsessed with about this shot, is that this element is brightly forelit. This element is basically a car coming into a parking lot or some bright light coming in through the window that he's at, but he is still silhouetted. They blocked the light in a way that he is still so incredibly down. And what do we got going on here? Backlit. Bright backlight. I think this is one of the most compelling frames that we've looked at so far. It, like, just the way that it's structured, the composition, the way that the lights are edging and cutting through this room, and the fact that they've cut it very specifically so that he is not in the light, I think is chef's kiss. Some people say this is another one of those like yellow sickly sort of lights. This is from 2049. This is about mystery. I would argue it because it would be like, hey, what is her character about? What information is she about to bring into this scene? She's walking this way. Just one hard, incredibly bright light behind her. So when in doubt, bright light, just smash it into something. Okay, so now we're back in Cinetracer. This is my Silhouette 2. So they have some prefab sets that are bathroom sets, and they don't have one that's exactly like the bathroom in this. I don't have another subject in here, but I did just fudged it a little bit so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So you can see how this is like we got bright lights in the background. I got sconces that I put in here so that we're exposing. Again, I'm at 5.6. I'm at ISO 200. My focal length is 24. My aspect ratio isn't the same as this, but I think that you get the idea. You can see how you can start to create interest and depth in images. This is a frame through a frame right here, and this frame right here is really nice. And then everything is so bright in here. And there's almost no fall off on him. I mean, you can see it wrapping around a little bit here because it's about just ambient level bouncing around in the room, which is really great. But it means that they're really, really down on this as far as exposure is concerned. Anyway, you can see, like, again, if I open the lens up, like, this gets really bright and blown out, but you bring it down, it kind of hits the vibe, right? So yeah, light the space really bright that your character's standing against and expose for that brightness. That's what we're learning here. Okay, just a couple more images, and I'm going to go through them really quick. This is from Skyfall. A huge mansion is burning behind our lead character. Okay, he's running away from it. This is about all is lost. This is his childhood home burning in front of him. He's running away from it as a horrifying killer is trying to track him down. This is a really good one too. I think this is cool because everything that we've looked at so far has been really, really deliberate in its craft and the way that it's built and all that sort of stuff. And I think this is a really cool choice because it would be so easy to me to build a large 8x over here and bounce some light into it to bring ambient level this way, to back edge this guy, to front key this guy, and to do the same over here and to cross key them with such large soft fixtures that he gets edged here and he gets edged there. That would be so easy to do. I would do that if I didn't make a conscious choice that these guys needed to be silhouetted. If you were just left with the option to be like, hey, we got a scene that's taking place outside of the side of a hotel, just around the corner from the administrative office, and it's stucco and it's got some brick trimmings, and we're going to do a little bit of a wet down, like a half-ass wet down, and we're going to have the characters talk to each other with these big cowboy hats. How do you want to light it, Nate? I 9 times out of 10 would not light it like this unless we made the conscious choice to do this. And that is why Roger Deakins is the best, and I am a plebe who is constantly trying to figure out how to be better at this. I think what Deakins always does is so incredibly striking. I think that his push towards naturalism, which he calls it, is incredible. I think he is arguably the best DP working at this time, and I just see this repeating motif, and I don't feel like anybody's talking about it. Let me know if anybody else has done videos about the use of Deakins in silhouette, because I'd love to see it. I just haven't seen it yet. And as I was doing research on how to silhouette and how people are using it in narrative, I just kept being drawn to Deakins images. So, okay, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you guys like the CineTracer stuff. I realize that these might not be the best examples of how to use CineTracer, but I'm going to get more into that because I think it gives me a little bit more control. I know that people have been asking for more BTS stuff and abilities for them to see how the lighting actually works. I think that if I start to build some of those in this sort of Unreal Engine 3D designer, we might be able to get more into the nuts and bolts of how lighting actually works in a narrative sense. And so I'm excited about that. But this is me just kind of kicking the tires on it, and we'll see if we can get more into it later. All right, guys, thanks so much. That's all the time we got. Please subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite Deakins movie is, and we'll talk soon. Cheers. Bye.